Today, I'm going to tell you how to make it so that your rocket doesn't smash into the ground. This is the third episode of my podcast called Igniting the Skies. But before we get started, I need you to subscribe so that I can bring you more content that will teach you about rockets. So, the way to not make your rocket smash into the ground is with recovery. You want to be able to use your rocket again, or at least get it back, which means you need a parachute, streamer, or if your rocket is light enough, you could even use free fall. By parachute, you would want something that's like this. A parachute, basically creates drag so that it slows the rocket. Then, if your rocket is slightly lighter, you could use a streamer, which is like a parachute in the fact that it creates drag, but it does not produce the same amount of drag. It produces less drag, and you have to have a lighter rocket in order to use a streamer and make it effective. Then, you have free fall. Free fall is if you have a super light rocket and you don't need a parachute or a streamer. And I've made a few free fall rockets before. They work well, but they have to be very, very light in order for the air to create enough drag to slow the rocket enough just by the airframe. After that, you want to make a rough diagram, which this is kind of like a rough diagram, except this is more of a this is like a diagram, but you want to make a sketch of what your rocket will look like. And so I like to do this on paper because paper is extremely fast. If you don't like what you did, you can crumple it up, throw it away, and grab a new piece of paper instead of having to 3D model something in FreeCAD or OpenRocket, which takes a lot longer. And when you start making your rough diagram, you want to think about things like the fin shape. So whether you would want a clip delta or a tapered swept. And then you would want to think about diameter, so the actual size of the rocket itself, the length, so the height of the rocket, if there's an independent AV bay or if there's not an independent AV bay. This diagram right here is with not an independent AV bay. I'll put a picture on screen, but if it does have an independent AV bay, that means instead of connecting the rocket to the nose cone, you would connect the rocket to the AV bay, and then the AV bay would have the nose cone on top of it. And you need to add all sorts of things, so you just make your rough diagram with the basic dimensions so that you have those dimensions that you want to start out with that correspond to your goal. So like if you have a rocket that has a payload, and you obviously can't make a rocket that's too small for the payload to fit into, so that is a constraint that would be on your rocket. You can't make it any smaller than the payload itself. So you want to have these basic dimensions when you go into the 3D modeling, which is what the next episode will be about. So subscribe to not miss out when I put out the next episode, and turn on notifications so that you get notified when I post the next episode. Then you'll be able to see how exactly to do the 3D modeling in FreeCAD and in OpenRocket.